With many people vaccinated and a lot of destinations opening up, people are ready to travel this summer. Here to give us some summer travel tips is the founder of Scott's Cheap Flights, Scott Keyes. Scott, good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so it's time. I want to book a flight. What's the first thing I should do?
Yeah, so look, folks are excited to travel again. We're all hoping for cheap flights. The thing that I recommend people is if you're hoping to get cheap flights, the normal way of searching for flights actually kind of undercuts your ability to get them. So the normal way of searching is a three-step process. Step one, you decide where you want to go. Step two, you decide when you want to go there. And only on step three do you look, well, what do the flights cost? And by setting price as the last priority, is it surprising that we end up getting some pretty expensive flights? So rather than overpaying for flights, what I recommend is if you're hoping to get cheap flights, take that same three-step process and flip it on its head. Step one, where are there cheap flights available out of my home airport? Step two, which of those places interest me the most? Step three, when do I want to go there? By setting price as the top priority rather than the last priority.
So letting that dictate where you might even go.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. I mean, and you can still get some amazing deals. You know, I got a deal from New York City to Milan for $130 round trip, not because I planned to go to Milan, but because a $130 trip popped up to Milan. And I said, of course I'm going to go.
And the pasta's good.
Exactly. Right? There are plenty of reasons to go.
So buying a ticket in advance, how far in advance do you recommend?
What I recommend is thinking about it in terms of Goldilocks windows. So not too early and not too late. When you're traveling domestically, the Goldilocks windows for when cheap flights are most likely to pop up is about 1 to 3 months in advance. For international travel, about 2 to 8 months in advance. So it's not the earliest bird that gets the worm, but you also don't want to wait till last minute when airfare tends to be very expensive.
And you're booking your trips, right? You're getting ready, hopefully, to fly soon.
I am. I'm excited. You know, I've been fully vaccinated and just excited to try to make up for lost time now that with the summer coming.
Listen, if you're lucky, you'll sit next to Kelly Ripa on a flight.
I should be so lucky.
It's fun, I hear. Or art is even more fun, right? We'll be back with more. Kelly's got it from here. More with Scott after the break.
Hey, welcome back. Scott, what other tips do you have for us? Because I've been paying attention, and by the way, I'm a lot of fun on a flight. I mean, if you want to stay safe and clean.
I have no doubts. And listen, one of the most interesting things that I learned when I was doing research for my book, Take More Vacations, is that we think of travel as something we only enjoy when we're on the trip itself. But turns out we actually get as much joy from looking forward to travel as we do on the trip itself, sometimes more. You know, when you're on a trip, sometimes things go wrong. You know, the food's cold, you get lost, you're hangry. When you're looking forward to a trip, you're just dreaming of those cocktails on the beach. You're dreaming of that great, theater production. So what I recommend is book your flights actually well in advance so you can give your today self that much more anticipation to savor looking forward to that trip.
Now, you say that it may pay to fly domestic. I find that some of the greatest places on Earth are right here.
That's right. So we have been living in what I call the golden age of cheap flights. It has never been cheaper to fly as it has been. And it has been for years before the pandemic as well. And it's going to be coming out of the pandemic. Where we see especially great deals right now, though, is domestically, because so many of those airlines that had been flying those big jets to Tokyo and Australia and whatnot are now flying them to Hawaii and Alaska and Miami. And so, even just this past week, we saw fares from New York to Alaska for $212 round trip. Unbelievable.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, are they flexible still with rebooking?
Yes, this is one of the best things that the airlines have done in the past year. They've actually changed their policy, whereas you used to have to pay after you booked your flight. If you wanted to change your dates, you had to pay an arm and a leg. You had to pay $400 or $500 sometimes. Now, when you book your flight, you automatically have flexibility so you can change your travel dates later without having to pay anything to do so. If your new dates are more expensive, you do have to cover that fare difference. But if the new dates are cheaper, you actually get the difference back in the form of a travel credit. So all the more reason to prioritize
That's incredible.
cheap flights.
Well, thank you very much. For all of this travel information, you can visit our website and make sure you pick up Scott's book, Take More Vacations. What a great title, by the way.
Thank you,
thank you.
I appreciate it.
It's available everywhere books are sold. Scott Keyes, everybody. We'll be right back. Stick around.